Hey there, how's it going? So I'm here in Stockholm, Sweden, where I just arrived a couple of days ago, and in this video that I'm going to be explaining about visas for people who are not from Europe, who want to travel to Europe, which includes explaining the Schengen zone, which hopefully by the end of this video you will understand what that is. So it probably would have been easier to have recorded this video like back in my room where it was quieter and less distractions. However, I thought it would be cool to give you a little taste of Stockholm here and just a little, look into Europe while I'm recording this video. So as you can see, a really pleasant park here on a beautiful sunny day in May. Spring is finally here in Sweden. It was a long winter apparently, as it usually is. And so there are different designations of what exactly Europe is, which countries are considered part of Europe and which are not, depending on who you ask and depending on your criteria. So there are three different terms that you need to understand when it comes to what exactly Europe is. One is the European Union. Most people will recognize that term and understand that that basically means Europe. One is the Eurozone, and one is the Schengen zone. So I'm going to show some maps here of each of those different zones, which will begin to illustrate why there is a difference between different conceptions of Europe. So first, here is a map of the European Union. Now here is the Eurozone. And finally, here is the Schengen zone. Now, most of you will probably have heard of the European Union. It is actually the least relevant when it comes to travelers coming to Europe. The European Union is essentially a agreement of trade and commerce between different countries within Europe. Some of you may have heard of the term that was in the news, the Brexit. Brexit refers to the United Kingdom, aka Britain, leaving or exiting the European Union. So the British exit is the Brexit. And so that was kind of a shockwave throughout Europe and the European Union, because the United Kingdom decided that they were not going to be part of Europe in terms of trade and politics, and wanted to remain independent. So I'm going to get started walking here and show you a little more of Stockholm as I record the rest of this video and explain more about Europe and these different designations. And so one thing that illustrates the distinction between these different zones of Europe is that the United Kingdom, although it was part of the European Union, it was never actually part of the Eurozone or of the Schengen zone. The Eurozone is the region of Europe which uses the euro currency. So part of the European Union and the unifying of Europe in various ways was creating a common currency for different countries all using the same money. So the United Kingdom was never part of the Eurozone. They never used the euro currency. The United Kingdom has always used their own currency, which is the British pound. And so the UK was part of the European Union. However, it was not part of the Eurozone. It also was not part of the Schengen zone. Sweden here also is part of the European Union and part of the Schengen zone. However, Sweden is not part of the Eurozone. Sweden does not use the euro currency. They have their own currency, the Swedish kroner. And so this hopefully starts to give the impression of the difference between these different ideas of Europe, which is that there are different agreements within Europe about different, things related to society and trade and money and politics. And so some countries wanted to be part of certain agreements and not part of other agreements. I'm not sure what this building is here, but there's this open gate So I thought that I would record the rest of this video here so that you can actually understand what I am saying. And so Sweden here does not use the euro currency. It uses the Swedish kroner, and so once I leave Sweden, then I will need to convert my Swedish currency into whatever currency for the country that I go to next. Now, if I enter the Eurozone, I am in the Schengen zone already. But once I enter the Eurozone, where they use the euro currency, then I will get euros, and so then once I go to another country within the Eurozone, then I won't have to change currency again. I can just use the euro currency, even if it was issued in that country. It doesn't matter. As long as it is a euro, then it is usable in all of the countries that participate in the Eurozone. So hopefully that makes sense. That was part of the arrangement with creating the European Union, was creating a common currency between different countries within Europe so that they could take one money from one country to another without always having to exchange money every time you change to a different country when there are so many different countries within Europe. However, not everybody wanted to participate in that agreement, and so that is why there are these different zones. Now, getting to the Schengen zone, which is most relevant to travelers when it comes to visas and entering Europe. So the Schengen zone then is the region of Europe which is the area that is without borders. And so once you enter the Schengen zone, the countries that participate in the Schengen zone, then you will not be stopped at any kind of a border control within Europe, as long as you are going between those countries that are within the Schengen zone. So for example, I flew into Stockholm here a few days ago, and when I go next to another country that is part of the Schengen zone of Europe, then I will not have to show my passport again. There will not be a border control at all. You just go across the border in a bus or a car or train or whatever, and you do not have to show your passport again. You don't have to get another stamp or another visa or anything like that. It is like you are in one country as far as the borders and as far as your visa entry goes. Now, there are some exceptions to that because of recent incidents within Europe, terrorist incidents in which certain countries have closed their borders in order to control people moving in and out of their borders more. And so I don't know exactly which countries are participating in that. Currently it is a changing system, but what is most relevant is the Schengen zone and the countries that are included in that. And so when it comes to getting a visa for Europe, then it will depend, as always, on which country you are from, on which passport you are using. So I am from the United States, I'm using an American passport, and so for people from the United States and many other countries around the world, then you don't need a visa. You just show up with a valid passport with at least 6 months validity, and you are allowed into the Schengen zone of Europe for 90 days. And that 90 days can be spread out. It is within a 180-day period. And so basically you can stay in Europe for 3 months out of 6 months. However, there are exceptions, of course, because, as I said, then the United Kingdom is not part of the Schengen zone, and so they have their own separate, independent visa situation. And so when you go to the United Kingdom, then those days, the time that you spend in the United Kingdom, does not count towards the 90 days that you spend in Europe. And so you can spend 90 days in the Schengen zone, but then you could leave the Schengen zone and go to any country that is not part of the Schengen zone, including the United Kingdom and some other countries. And then there will be separate entry, requirements for that country. And so you will have to check specifically which countries you're planning to go to, and then keep in mind which country you are from and find out what the specific visa requirements are for you personally, because it will depend on where you're coming from, where you're going to, what the current arrangement is, how long you want to stay, whether you want to stay as a tourist or work, etc. So it is kind of confusing, but for many people who might be planning to travel to Europe, then it is actually quite simple. Bring your passport and show them at the border, whether you fly into an airport or are crossing from a overland border, and you should be allowed to enter Europe for 90 days within any 180-day period. So I realize that that is all a bit confusing, but basically what you need to know what is most relevant is the Schengen zone and whether or not you need a visa for entering Europe. So let's say that you are from India, for example, then people from India do in fact need a advance visa before they can come to Europe. And so you will have to look online and find out what the requirements are for your particular country. If you're from India, then search online, India, travel to Europe, or India visa for Europe. So I hope that that helps clear things up. To some extent, if you are from many countries around the world, then you can enter Europe with just your passport. They will let you in and you get 3 months to hang out here. So thanks for watching, and lastly, I would just give one more little taste of the scene here in beautiful Stockholm, Sweden. Take it easy.